Epigraph. John Arlott, poet and biographer of Jack Hobbs, England cricket's greatest batsman. If he had never scored a run, nor excelled at any sport, those who knew him must have seen him as a great man because of the unmistakable nobility of his character. First anniversary of my father's death, 1994. There's an old cine film from 1954 of him, riding home from school on his motorised pedal cycle. Even when he was dressed in a suit, his jet black swept back hair looked always as if he'd just ridden home against the wind. But like his perfect stance at the batting crease, eyes level, bat tucked behind the feet, shoulders sloping like Jack Hobbs, he ever held his poise. One New Year's Eve, he lassoed us two boys home from a party in a skittle bar with some of his older, sociable students. We were in the kitchen raging in a rare family row about it. A young friend knocked on the veranda door and let himself straight in. He was that sort, and he'd obviously heard the shouting. My father paced about, coughing in his palms, and said, "Hello, Neil, we're just rehearsing Hamlet." And everybody burst out laughing. He was the classic romantic schoolmaster, hating the bells and corridors and timetables. He went on about the dreaming spires of Oxford, imagining he'd missed some higher station. With his blue eyes focused in the distance, as he puffed away at the pipe hooked underneath an aquiline nose, he'd sit and think and gaze at nothing. And someone had to ask, "What does Ray do all day?" Our mother said, "He thinks." That was sufficient. He harped on about an age of elegance when people whistled tuneful songs. Sometimes he'd let his fine baritone voice break out into one of those vintage songs, and he could quickly work them out on the piano without sheet music. Days before he died, he received a letter from a lifelong friend who wrote, "You taught me that gentleness is not a weakness." Another wrote to me, "He was the nicest man I ever met." From his gravestone epitaph with modest Purbeck stone, my mother found these words of a poem from French poet Hilaire Belloc. "The grace of God is in courtesy." So stands the little monument in the cemetery bearing above him those words. With a shaking heart I delivered his funeral tribute to a packed St. Mary's Church in Sheet, East Hampshire, the elegant Bryant Firkins standing at the back. I didn't break until the final syllable, then descended the steps of the high pulpit with hands clenched across my face. One narrative I recounted in my tribute was how in his dying weeks I spoke to him about the day when he was over 60 and was persuaded to make a comeback in the county league for Petersfield cricket team. We played against some South Coast 11 who turned up with two young athletes who bounced the whistling ball above our heads like Australian foes Dennis Lilly and Jeff Thompson on a rock-hard summer wicket. I'd already been dismissed when Dad's time came to bat lower down the order than his former opening days when, once, he took on England fiery paceman Harold Larwood and took him for 80. I was frightened for him, but as he was going out, he whispered in my ear, "Right, Chris, watch this." He walked out angry, with the sleeves of his mind rolled up, and his bat was a bloodthirsty axe and he slashed and carved and hooked it through those southern warriors and rolled them on the ancient burial mounds of the heath. He said he couldn't remember it and asked only, "How many did I score?" The county newspaper wrote, "Town mourns Ray." Hard to conceive of it now, that all of this was only 12 months ago. That just 12 months back he was here with us. He gave me the love of birds. It was seeing that summer's swallows without him that hurt the most.